Alright, so I bought 2 of these packages once, and I accidentally left one in the car. And so I got it, and it was like all melted and messed up and stuff. So what I did was I waited about 3 days, and I had to like force the bag open, and it was a giant block of multicolored gummy worm that I ended up like putting it in a cup and like trying to take a bite. It was like that thick, and I was trying to take a bite out of it for a couple days, and yeah, fond memories. I love CVS gummy worms, by the way. They're my favorite kind.
With that same idea, you could probably make it into like a lollipop.
That'd be kind of cool.
Like a gummy worm melted mush of a lollipop.
That'd be awesome. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of After Credits. And here, my brother, Benny. Benny just turned 17, and what a way to turn 17. I brought you to go see Hereditary, first rated R movie ever. After you watch this movie, I'm really, like, any family problems you might have, they're kind of minuscule in comparison. It's directed by Ari Aster. I think it's his first, like, feature-length debut. And it's about a family whose grandmother dies, and this grandmother has, like, a ton of secrets, and she's creepy and kind of, like, she's spoopy. Her daughter is played by Toni Collette. She's the mom. And after that grandmother dies, there's like just an avalanche of weird and wrong that happens in this life. There was a moment when I walked out to go to the bathroom, and I was walking back, and they're like, how do you feel? I'm like, unpleasant. Like, there's a moment in this movie where I contemplated, like, I don't really want to be here right now. Not because the movie's bad or anything, but because, like, I'm kind of like, man, this is a bummer of a movie. What'd you think?
Well, it was, interesting.
I guess the next question is, did you like it?
It was very suspenseful. It took a lot of those moments and kind of dragged it on to bring that suspense. But at the same time, it kind of dragged it for so long that you kind of lost focus, and it just kind of loses your interest. That's how I felt in this.
That is dead on what I felt. Because this movie's 2 hours long, and for the first hour, it really works.
Oh.
Like the acting, the cinematography especially. This, the mom builds kind of miniature houses and dioramas for a living, and the whole movie is kind of shot with that point of view feel. It feels like you're watching kind of like a soap opera, a melodrama, but it's got kind of like this restricting, confined feel to it. And there are fun little tricks here with the camera, especially for transitions and like different stuff. But after a while, this movie kind of starts to go from like, here's a scary scene, to here's another scary scene, and another scary scene. And yeah, like you said, it sort of dragged to the point where I'm like, okay, I really need this to wrap up, because you're not really showing me anything new here. Maybe I'm gonna need to watch this again, but I didn't think that a lot of those scenes, because some of those scenes you could see foreshadowing, and you could see like little elements here and there. But afterwards, I didn't think the reveal was so like complex that I needed a bunch of those extra scenes. I don't know if maybe they're foreshadowing like way far in advance and I'm just not picking it up because I'm dumb. I mean, the parts that like were suspenseful, like my really arm was shaking and like my heart was just like,
it really captures your attention. You're like, oh man, and then it keeps going, and then it keeps on like, oh man, what's happening?
For this movie's credit, it doesn't rely on jump scares nearly as much as I thought it would.
I was expecting it to. Like, half the time towards those suspenseful parts, I'm sitting there with my jacket like that, expecting something to pop out.
Yeah.
And the fact that nothing popped out made it even worse, because it's building up.
Because you're like,
you're expecting it, and you're just like, when is this gonna happen?
Especially with this movie's sound design, when you hear some of the noises being made, bone chilling. Like, you can imagine the sound guy just sitting there going A lot of people are talking about Toni Collette for a Best Actress nomination, Dude, Toni Collette is unbelievably good in this.
She tends to play a lot of roles about people with DID. Like, she was in United States of Terror, too, wasn't she?
I didn't see it.
No.
She rode that fine line between, like, she's overdoing it,
Psychosis, insanity.
but she's restrained enough to where you're not, like, completely lost in it. And I felt like this movie did that. Sometimes more effective than others. Like, there are parts in this movie where I'm kind of just sitting there going, yeah, that's a little silly.
But the scenes where she showed extreme emotion, like where she got very angry or very scared, like you could feel it with her. She was really good at bringing the audience into that with her. She scared me at some points. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
yes ma'am, I'm sorry.
There were great parts when the camera work and the direction married with the acting was great. Like, there's a scene when she's attending a grief recovery seminar, and the shot is pretty much, you know, her in the middle, you're kind of seeing the whole group, and then as she's talking, you see the camera start going closer to her.
Right.
And you're focused on her because it's her monologue, but like as the monologue starts getting like wilder and crazier, you start to see the camera work do it too, but not so much that it's distracting. It's enough to really get you in that person's head. And I found in that scene, like, they would cut to beside her, and it worked. It was kind of rhythmic.
This movie made me feel sick at some points.
Me too.
And I mean that in a good way. Like, I don't know what it was. Aside from the really grotesque scenes, which weren't even that over the top. There was just something about them. It just made me feel sick.
I'm guessing it's part of that suspense build.
I think it was because they also didn't overdo it to where it wasn't realistic. It was just the right touch.
Like I said, it's like a hard left hook, and so when you see something
Not
grotesque,
overpowering you.
it'll be like an edit. So it'll be a jump cut to something grotesque. Or it'll be slow and methodical to really, like, you have to look at it and be stuck with it. There's some stuff that happens here. Honestly, the stuff that scared me wasn't necessarily the grotesque or the supernatural. It was a lot of just the plot and a lot of these interactions that are like...
The whole deterioration thing that they were playing off.
With the family?
With the family, like...
It makes sense that A24 released this because it feels so much like The Witch. It's got that kind of build. If you really like The Witch.
I can't remember what it was, but I know it reminded me of a movie because it all looked very familiar, but I don't remember. It was a very unuseful piece of information to share, but I'll remember and we'll watch it.
Okay. Spoiler alert! If you don't want to know any more about this movie except final thoughts and scores out of 6 stars, scroll to the time code right there. If not, let's keep on going. Grandma apparently has been serving a Dark Lord of Hell. There are 8 of them eventually.
Lords of Salem! That's what it reminded me of. Sorry.
Yeah, a little bit, except less goofy.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, it's a representative.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. It's just if I didn't get that out, it wasn't coming back.
What is it? Oh my god!
Oh my god!
How bad are you people?
Very!
It's a bag!
Ooh, I want the last blue one. No! Thank you.
She's gonna kill us all.
The blue ones are the best ones. I don't think they taste any different.
They don't.
They don't.
Grandma has to sacrifice 3 people and put the Pamion,
Yeah, I think it was Pamela.
Panama.
The
Right.
Demon Lord.
We've got to put him inside a dude host.
It's gotta be a man, though.
And-
There were a lot of little stucks in the movie that tied into that, like how the mother, what was her name, Annie? She had hinted earlier that grandmother had wanted a son and hated that she had a daughter. Her name is Charlie. Like, they were obviously planning this her whole life. She just wasn't born to be what they expected her to be, so they made her to be what she needed to be.
She wanted Charlie to be a son, but didn't they already have a son with Peter?
The mother did not let her touch Peter. Remember?
That's right.
Did not let her have any contact.
There's like a dream sequence or something whenever she walks into Peter's room after all the stuff has gone down. By the way, Peter is played by Alex Wolff of the Naked Brothers Band. You remember that kids show at Nickelodeon? He's a little one.
Was Nat Wolff in that too? Both of them?
Yeah, Nat
Okay.
Wolff is the older one who has like...
Not as good of an acting career.
I know a lot of the Oscar talk is going to Toni Collette, but props to Alex Wolff, who is taking so much of this movie in pain and misery, and he's just acting his ass off.
Can we talk about that dream sequence? So that was awesome.
The
one that you're talking about.
Oh, the one where the mom comes in and just tells him she didn't want him at all.
And like lights him on fire.
Yeah, it's one of those things that's like
that's another thing where you're like, what the heck is real? What's going on?
Right.
This movie really messes with you like that.
And it was just horrifying. You heard the audience. As terrible and loud and obnoxious as this audience was, the moment when she's like, I never wanted to be your mother, everyone's like, ooh. And that was scary to me. Like the thought of like your mom. She admitted
to trying to kill him.
One of the scariest parts of the movie for me was that whole sequence when they go to the party, Peter and Charlie. Charlie eats a brownie that has nuts in it. She's allergic to nuts, and so she starts having an allergic reaction. Peter starts driving her home. He's speeding like a crazy person, and she lowers the window trying to breathe because she can't. She sticks her head out the window and hits a pole at what I assume was 80 miles an hour.
He was going almost 100.
He kind of swerved out of the way of a dead deer and just straight up, like, the movie doesn't show it until a good maybe like 10 minutes later, or it might have felt like 10 minutes. Her head is gone. Like, torn off. And what was scary about that scene was that you didn't see it immediately. All that was just shot from Alex Wolff. And the scariest part of that was like, is he gonna turn around?
Yeah.
What's happening?
Went to bed.
He just drove, like paralyzed.
His mother finding her the next morning, like black blood dried into the interior of her car. Can't even find the kid's head to like know it's her.
Dude, and just the blood curdling scream. That just, man.
He walks out of the car. I was like, oh, is he gonna grab her, or are we gonna see her? No, he walks in and goes to bed. And then when you hear the mom getting into the car, and then that scream, and then that cut to the head, is that where it was?
Yeah. And then like all the ants and the blood kind of going over that, and you're just like, oh my god. Not only was it suspense of like, are there possessions and stuff like that, it was mostly the suspense of who's gonna address the elephant in the room, that it was because of Peter's neglect of his sister that she died.
He just took his little sister, who's not all there, like you can tell she's not 100% there.
The part that weirded me,
takes her to a party with beer and drugs, goes up to smoke weed, leaves his 13-year-old sister in a party of 17, 18-year-old kids drinking to just
played by
whatever.
25-year-old actors.
Like, who does that?
A douche.
At least, like, lock her in the bathroom or something.
You know what actually made me laugh in the movie? Whenever Peter had texts on his phone.
Oh, that was funny.
Because you'd look at something like, he gets a text from his friend, and he's like, yo, bro, are you coming to the party tonight? Bring your dick. And then, like, above it, you'll see something like, hey, are you gonna come out soon? And he's like, yeah, I just gotta finish waxing the D. I'm like, what? Who talks like this? I have texted many a weird thing in my years. I've never texted anything like that.
How kids text now? Huh?
Apparently. With that weird.
You vouch for that?
No.
With that weird, like, iPhone 2, like, resolution.
I want to watch it again and not have such a disrespectful audience.
Man.
Just once, I want to go to a movie and not have some jerk next to me texting. Just once. Why is that so much to ask?
Man. Matt Zoller Seitz, he's, I think I've mentioned him a couple times on this show. He's the editor of RogerEbert.com, and he's written many a book, and he's one of the more famous film critics out there. And he was talking about how it never fails. Whenever there's a movie like this, a horror movie, there's always that, like, bro crowd.
Oh, yeah.
The bro crowd that's like, it's not that scary, bro.
We're supposed to scream here, but we're too cool for that, so let's laugh.
Even though you know that they're just doing that to break the tension. It's their insecurity.
Cover up their fear and insecurity. Just like bullies.
Their machismo.
This is why we have to drive all the way to freaking Plano to see a decent movie. With
a decent audience. The grandma's voice, you can hear it at the end, and then she's talking about Charlie. So Charlie's the one?
Charlie's the one, that's what I was saying earlier.
Okay.
Charlie was the most vulnerable, which is the only one that was able to be possessed, but she was a female, so they had to correct her female form and give her Peter's body. Does that make sense? Because in the book that she read, it said that the demon had to take the form of a male body. Didn't say anything about the body.
Gotta be a guy, huh? Can't even can't even bring back a demon king without it having to be a man in the house.
Women are too smart for that.
She's right, though. We are pretty stupid. You remember the funeral? Whenever Charlie's like looking at her grandma, and then she looks up towards the corner, and there's just some random dude like giving her the weird pedo vibes.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, why was that?
I assumed he's one of the guys at the end.
Huh, I forgot about that.
I was looking at you like...
She was being basically groomed her life for this.
So, welcome back. We talked about Hereditary for a while, and now we're going to go into final thoughts and scores out of 6 stars. Brittany!
Yes?
Let's do this! Let's final thought.
Final thoughts. I liked it. Horror movies, they have to make me feel something, whether it be disgust or fear or anxiety. This movie had all of the above. There were a few scenes where I felt physically nauseous. I don't want to give it too high of a score because the ending was really stupid. It wrapped up too quickly. It built up to something that didn't live up. But the rest of the movie made up for it. I think I'd give it a...
You have to speak loudly.
5.
There you go.
5. Final answer. Can I phone a friend?
Phone Benny. Benny, what'd you think of this movie?
Well, it wasn't as high as a 5. I don't know. It definitely had that... It definitely had that suspenseful feel to it, and I really liked that. But like I said earlier, I feel like it did drag on those parts quite a bit. And I don't know, it just... And Peter, he just annoyed me, honestly. Like, from the beginning, you know, when he was talking to his mom about his sister and how... it's really hard to explain. I just disliked him. I'll give it a 4.
I'm gonna go smack in the middle, 4.5. Ari Aster was able to direct these people so well, and they were able to kind of live in these characters and really take them to their full emotional extremes without going too far most of the time. It works, and those were the reasons that I was feeling so uncomfortable and like squirmy and upset, and it was unpleasant, but it was working towards a grander purpose of how we deal with grief, how we deal with our family members, our strongest relationships versus our human nature, our desires and our fears and anxieties. All that stuff works well. There are lots of points when the movie kind of goes too over the top for its own good, and I thought that kind of lost an emotional punch. This is incredibly ambitious and damn good directorial debut. I cannot wait to see what this man has next. I wouldn't say it's the scariest movie, but definitely one that if you're around, go check it out in theaters, and if you see somebody talking or clicking, throw ice cubes at them. Pull a barnyard.
Just throw a whole hot dog at them. Just a whole hot dog.
Smack them with the wiener. If you liked this video, go ahead, like it. Subscribe if you want to see more. We got Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram if you want to follow our stuff.
Ew.
Barnyard and I are going to go see Tag later this week, and then after that, Incredibles 2! Woo! 14 years in the making.
14.
And eventually we got Jurassic World 2 coming out. Liam and I... Oh man, that looks like a glorious amount of stupid. And Liam and I actually have something prepared for Jurassic 2 around that time, so y'all stay hyped on that. Until next time, thank you all very, very much for watching. We'll see you later. Bye.